It's the ultimate dilemma in English football, isn't it? You've got the magic, the glamour, the iconic floodlit nights of the Champions League, and then you have the brutal 38-game grind of the Premier League. One is a sprint to immortality, the other is a war of attrition. So let's really dive in and ask the big question. Does chasing that European glory actually come at a direct, measurable cost back home?
I mean, just look at this. We're talking about two completely different beasts. The Champions League. It's all about knockout football, where legends are forged in these huge, high-stakes moments. But the Premier League, that's a marathon. It tests your soul, your endurance, your will to win on a cold, rainy Tuesday night. They demand completely different things from a team.
So this is really the core question of our whole explainer. Is it a zero-sum game? Do you have to sacrifice one to climb the other? Or, just maybe, is it possible to conquer both? We're going to break down all the evidence, and we're starting with the brutal physical reality of this fight.
Right, and this isn't just about opinions or what pundits are shouting about in the studio. The cost is real, and it's grounded in actual, measurable science. The players' bodies, well, they're the battlefield in this war of attrition, and it all kicks off with a concept called fixture congestion.
You know what's so fascinating here is how precise this is. We're not just saying playing a lot of games. Sports science has identified this specific window. Fixture congestion is what happens when you consistently break this 96-hour recovery rule, which, let's be honest, for teams playing in Europe, becomes the norm, not the exception.
And this is the magic number, less than 96 hours. Just think about a team's schedule. A huge league game on a Sunday, travel Monday, massive Champions League match Wednesday, travel back Thursday, another crucial league game Saturday. There's just no time for the body to fully recover. It's like you're building up this physical debt week after week, and that debt always comes due, usually paid with injuries and dips in form.
And look, this isn't just about players having tired legs. The consequences are real, and you can see them on the pitch. Players, even subconsciously, start to save energy. You see fewer sprints, fewer of those game-changing runs. The training pitch stops being about tactics and becomes all about recovery. The whole system, the very fabric of the team, it just starts to fray at the edges.
And here it is, the most devastating cost of all. Over 21,000 days. That's how many days Premier League players lost to injury in just one season. To put that in perspective, that's like every single club in the league starting the season without 3 of their key players for the entire year. It is absolutely no coincidence that the teams competing deep into Europe consistently top these injury lists. It's the price you pay for that relentless schedule.
But you know, the physical toll, that's only half the story. This battle isn't just fought in the muscles, it's also fought in the mind. The pressure, the burnout, the sheer emotional whiplash from a huge European night, it all has a massive impact.
I mean, this quote from Marcelo is just incredibly raw, isn't it? It just perfectly captures that acute, insane pressure of a single, career-defining moment. We're not talking about pre-game nerves here. This is the crushing weight of the world's biggest club competition.
And then you've got the other side of it, the chronic side. Here's Phil Foden talking about being mentally burned out. It's not about one single big moment. It's the slow, grinding exhaustion of a 10-month season, fighting tooth and nail on 2 fronts. When the brain is that tired, peak performance is just impossible.
And all this leads to something we all know as the domestic hangover. I mean, think about it. After the bright lights, the anthem, the do-or-die drama of a Champions League knockout game, how on earth do you get yourself mentally fired up for a league match against a bottom-half team just 72 hours later? It's not a question of professionalism, it's just human psychology. The emotional tank is empty.
Okay, so this right here is the cornerstone of the whole argument. Just look at the contrast. Liverpool in 05 and Chelsea in 12, they were absolutely heroic in Europe, but their domestic points per game, pretty mediocre. They essentially had to sacrifice the league. Now compare that to the 2 Treble winners, Man United and Man City. They maintained unbelievable domestic dominance while winning it all.
And when you visualize that data, wow, the gap is just undeniable. An average of 1.61 points per game for the teams that had to sacrifice versus 2.21 for the treble winners. That is a massive, massive difference. It's pretty much the statistical proof that for most teams, a choice simply has to be made.
So, if it's that hard, how on earth did those generational teams at United and City do it? What's the secret sauce? What's the blueprint for defying the odds and achieving total domination?
And what's really fascinating here is that there seem to be 2 different paths to glory. Fergie, back in '99, built his squad on what you'd call stylistically varied depth.
He had 4 totally different types of strikers for 4 different problems. Guardiola, on the other hand, builds systemic depth. He gets these incredibly versatile players who can fill multiple roles within his one ridiculously complex system. 2 totally different philosophies, but the same historic result. But let's be totally honest about the engine that drives this blueprint. At the end of the day, it's money. The absolutely enormous financial rewards from the Champions League create this self-perpetuating cycle. It allows a tiny handful of clubs to build the kind of super squads you need to even attempt this.
The scale of the money involved is just staggering. We're talking up to 155 million euros. To put that in perspective, the prize money for winning the domestic FA Cup is about £4 million. This isn't just a gap, it's a chasm. And that chasm fuels a relentless arms race for the best talent on the planet.
And ultimately, this is how all that money solves the physical problem we were talking about earlier. It allows clubs to buy the ultimate luxury, basically 2 first-choice starting lineups. You can rest your star striker for a tough league game because his replacement is also a world-class international. You can, in effect, buy resilience.
But here's the kicker. Just when you think the challenge couldn't possibly get any harder, the entire landscape is changing. The Champions League's new format is here, and trust me, it's going to make this whole dilemma even more intense.
Okay, so let's quickly break this down. Forget the old groups. Now it's one giant 36-team league table. You play 8 matches against 8 different teams. If you finish in the top 8, you're straight through to the knockouts. But if you finish anywhere from 9th to 24th, you get thrown into a new, perilous 2-legged playoff round.
And the consequences of this are massive. First, more games, which means more fixture congestion. But the real killer here is the end of so-called dead rubbers. In the old format, a team could seal qualification after 4 games and rest everybody. Not anymore. Now, every single point matters to try and finish in that top 8 and avoid the playoffs. This is basically the strategic death of rotation.
So, where does that leave us? Let's state the verdict clearly. The cost is real. This isn't a theory anymore. The science, the player testimonies, the historical data, it all points to one undeniable conclusion. For almost every team, chasing the Champions League directly hurts their Premier League campaign.
And what about those legendary treble winners? Well, they're not the argument against this rule. In fact, they're the ultimate exceptions that prove it. Their incredible success just shows how ridiculously difficult this is, requiring a perfect storm of immense financial power, tactical genius, and a squad of near superhumans. Which leaves us with this final lingering question for the future of the sport. With even more games and even greater financial stakes than ever before, has the dream of conquering both England and Europe now become a completely impossible peak for all but a tiny super rich elite? It feels like the war of attrition just got a whole lot tougher.